Hello, hope you're having a nice day. For this video, I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to just have a conversation. It's been something that I've been meaning to do for quite a while now, actually, but I was waiting for the right headspace to turn up. But I think now I'm sort of in the right headspace to just sort of sit down and have a chat. So you might be thinking, why? What have I got to talk about? What is the point in this? The thing with me, I try and make an example. So you can see my tattoos, they are all video game related. So this one here is Zelda. I've got Monster Hunter, Xenoblade. Yeah, all my tattoos are video game related. So I love video games, right? But the thing with me and video games is I don't just enjoy just playing, just sitting down in front of a TV or handheld and just playing. I like thinking about it. I like reading the news about it. I like talking about it. I like really thinking about the whole art form that is gaming. So that's the art direction, the stories, that how games are put together, the mechanics within the games, how things work, and learning about the industry, about how the companies work. And I enjoy going, joining social groups online, and we're just talking with the communities of different fan bases of different games, and really getting stuck into it, really getting involved in it, and actively participating in it, not just in front of a screen and just sort of just consuming, just consuming the medium. And so yes, it's a similar story with me and music. Like I like to think. I don't just sort of passively listen to music and then just stand up and strum a few chords and sing a little bit. I do actually think about music a lot, and I try to really apply myself to it and try to figure things out about what works and what doesn't work and all that kind of stuff. So and just talk about it as well. So yeah, that's sort of the reason why I'm doing this. But let's get to the topic of the video after that preamble introduction. Yeah, we're talking about covers versus originals, and I find this topic really quite confusing. There's a lot to discuss here. So I've had a lot of conversations about the topic of covers and originals, and there's a lot of confusion about the topic, especially with different genres. So let's just get stuck into the meat and potatoes, right? So we've got a Friedrich Chopin CD, the Complete Waltzes, and the pianist here is Stephen Hugh. None of this is original. It's all a cover, obviously, of Friedrich Chopin, Chopin, I think it is, 1810 to 1849. So this CD contains no original material. But because it's classical music, I studied music for my degree. This is considered high art. It's highbrow art. Yeah, if you went to the Royal College of Arts as a classically trained pianist, this is the kind of material that you will be learning and training on. However, if we've got something like the Eminem Show, this CD is completely original. Every track on here is original. It's Eminem's track. But this would probably be considered, I like Eminem's music. This is no slight on Eminem at all. But this would be considered sort of lower brow. It's not high culture. It's not high art in the same way that classical music or jazz might be. So straight away we can see how there can be, or if you're looking at the years, this probably contains 100% original music. But again, it's just it's rock and roll. It's not highbrow intellectual, sort of that kind of highly trained musician sort of art. So straight away we can see there's a contradiction within the narrative, that sometimes people put across that original material, that's where the art and creativity is at. But that's where the genuine creative input is in. But covers is just it's sort of it's a half glass full situation where it's not original. It's not creative. They're not really going out of their way to create something new. The time that it sort of really struck me that originals aren't always all they're cracked up to be is when I first listened to a album by the Slits. It wasn't this album, I can't find the actual album, but yeah, and the track was Heard It Through the Grapevine, and I loved the whole album. But then right at the end of the album they had their cover of Heard It Through the Grapevine, and I was thinking, this track is amazing, I love this song. It's really good it's really good to sing along to. It's got a good rhythm, it's got a good beat, and I quite enjoyed the lyrics as well. But I didn't know that it was a cover. See? And later on, when I researched it, I learned, oh, Heard It Through the Grapevine. It's not a Slits original, but it's also kind of my favourite track on the album. So then I had to try and figure out how does that work, because I was sort of, I always believed that the original tracks, that's where the good stuff is, and the cover is just the throwaway, it doesn't matter. I was trying to figure out how does that work if it's a cover and it's my favorite thing it's my favorite track of the album. Then how does that? What is the big deal with covers and originals, and one being a legitimate form of art and the other one being a sort of not half-baked kind of a thing? And so what I've noticed, it really does depend on the genre of the music. It's like in classical music, like you can have a whole box of CDs, 9 CDs from Daniel Barenboim, all Beethoven, all covers, and it's perfectly legitimate. But if you're talking about pop and rock, like there's a huge expectation that it all has to be original. Especially in pop and rock, I've noticed from my CD collection behind me, looking through it earlier, thinking, what has covers and what is just original. I noticed that all the original albums were all in the pop and the rock section. But the first time when I saw that there was a bit of a bleeding between the genres was in country music, actually. So if you take Terry Clark from her album Classic, she just does covers. It's just all covers of different country artists' songs. And I heard Leanne Rimes as well. She done an album of covers. And generally in country music, it's very normal to do covers within country music. And I just find the whole topic fascinating, about how in some genres it's a lot more culturally acceptable to do covers, and in other genres it's a lot more frowned upon to do covers. So if you're a rock band that does covers, then there's people think, oh, it's not really original material. But if you're a country artist that does covers, there's a different attitude there, and you can still be a legitimate artist and do covers. And similar with if you're a classical pianist, no one even expects you. There's no expectation at all to do original material. If you're a concert pianist, and I'm not saying that these things don't exist. Of course they do. Like, you can go to a concert and they perform, like maybe the conductor is the composer of the piece that they're playing, and in that case you can say this conductor is used in the orchestra format, is performing original music. But because it's a different cultural context, sort of the expectation isn't there for that within a sort of classical music scenario, that they have to be providing performing original material. And so when I heard that track from the Slits and I realised it was a cover, it really switched something in my mind, and I was trying to figure out how to navigate this space. And a similar thing struck me when I started getting into country music, and I think when I was about in my mid-20s, early 20s, when I really started to get a passion for country music. And I was amazed about just how much of it was a cover. And I put on a country album and I'd be like, oh, I love all these tracks, and then I'd do a bit of research into it and I'd be like, oh, a good number of tracks on the album are not originals. They are they've been done before by someone else, and they're just doing a different version of it. So yeah, so in terms of my own music, I've been gone through a long journey myself of trying to figure out what I want to do, because for me music is it's a spiritual journey. That's why it's my form of a sort of a spiritual practice, because it involves feelings and experiences, and songs and lyrics and things, they invoke imagery in your mind and the feelings and memories and all that kind of stuff. And so figuring out how to go about music as a performer, for me, it's it's kind of like sort of a spiritual journey. And the thing about that is that I've several times come into sort of a conflict in my mind between covers and originals. Like, do I want to focus on being an original artist, or do I want to focus on covers? And so when I was at uni, I was just I was very much into writing songs and recording original material. And as a performer now, I just perform covers. Recently, I had a bout of writing original songs, and I wrote about eight or so songs, and I put them at the back of my songbook. And then after a while of them being in the back of my songbook, I realised, I'm not actually playing these songs on the streets because I don't feel like it. And if I don't enjoy performing a song, most likely the audience won't enjoy listening to it. And that's the thing that I love about busking, is that it helps me to take out of my mind with music and think about what does the audience want? What do other people want to hear? So it encourages that sort of that the social and communication element of music, which is what music really should be about. Not just like me in my bedroom in my own isolated world with it, trying to stroke my own ego over how creative I am or whatever. It's also, music is about creating a connection with other people. That's the power of it. And so I wasn't really using my original material on the streets, and I did previously have a plan of writing a bunch of songs and getting them all recorded, and then releasing like an original album. Right, that's what a legitimate artist is supposed to do, isn't it? They're supposed to do the original material and then make an album of original material. That's what you're supposed to do, especially if you're a rock or pop artist, which I am. I'm not a classical pianist or anything like that. I'm a pop, country, rock guy. So there's that expectation that I have to be doing something original. But what I've learned over the years is that just like when people buy a Chopin album, they don't just want to hear Chopin. They want to hear Stephen Hugh play Chopin. And it's same as when, or if you're listening to a Terry Clark album of just covers, then they don't just want to hear the song. They want to hear Terry Clark's version of the song. It sounds like simple, but it took me a very long time to sort of come to this understanding. And I mean, I just do covers now. That's all. This book is now just full of covers because I took my originals out. And I've learned from my years as a busker that doing covers is not a walk in the park. And I've really, I've had to really apply myself. And the good thing about, for me, doing covers is that I can just forget about the material. I can just, I don't have to worry about the lyrics. I don't have to worry about the chords or the melody or any of this stuff. It's because the basic structure of the song is already done. So somebody else has already done it. And not only have they done it, but it's been proven to work, because these songs that have become popular, or successful in some way, like Guns N' Roses, REM, Amy Winehouse, Lindy Ortega, Elvis Presley, Tom Jones. These artists they've proven that their material works because people gravitate to it. They bought their tickets, they bought their CDs. So the basic skeleton of the song works. And what I love about covers is that because you've got the basic skeleton that works, and you know, as a performer, I can perform it and enjoy it. And for me, that is a big thing. Just like with video games, the first barrier of entrance is enjoyment. If I'm playing a video game and I'm not enjoying it, I'm going to drop the video game. It's as simple as that. And it's the same thing with music. If I'm not enjoying what I'm doing, it's a dead end. It's not going to go anywhere. And it got to the point with like writing songs and stuff. I was just like, I'm not enjoying this, and performing my own original songs. I'm not enjoying that at all. And then I started recording music, and I was just like, I'm not enjoying that either. So then I'm just like, why am I flogging a dead horse with this, trying to be an original artist if it's not something that I enjoy doing? And then, but then from performing covers in the streets, and other people singing along and knowing the song and, you know, having a little dance, and I'm finding that, you know, because the structure of the song is already done, I can just focus on the performance element and just really try to make the performance good, and figure out how to do the best performance that I can. And I'll give you an example. So like this loop pedal is actually quite a complicated piece of musical equipment. It took me a long time to figure out all the settings and how to use it, and, you know, the techniques of how to get the timing right. And yeah, using this has really improved my skills as a musician with timing, especially because when you have a loop pedal, you have to get the timing just right, because it really does notice when the timing is off. And I'm still working on that. But yeah, it's a different thing. Because instead of thinking, because when you're doing an original, you're thinking about the lyrics and the chords and the melody and all that stuff. But when you don't have to think about that stuff, you can think about, in some ways it's more important. You can think about the performance. How am I going to put these tracks together? How am I going to add percussion to this song? When am I going to introduce a solo, or what harmonies can I use? How am I going to do the structure of the song? So it's like, it's kind of like if writing a song is sort of like building a house, right? But I would say sort of doing a cover of a song is like doing the interior decoration. But what is the thing that you see the most when you go into a house? It's probably the interior decoration, isn't it? You're not looking at the brickwork when you're looking at a house. You're looking at the paint and the decor and the little cosmetic details. And I find that from doing covers, like you can really focus on the details, on how to make this song into your version of the song, and how to make the song work for you. So the first thing I do when I learn a cover is change the key signature, because everyone's voices are different. So I need to figure out the right key signature for me. And, you know, throughout my songbook, there's notes all over the place of key changes and chord changes, where I try to figure out the best way of approaching the song so that it suits my voice and suits my way of playing. And then I have to think about, sometimes I change the sections of a song, or I get rid of a section of a song, and or shorten a song, or, you know, add extra choruses or whatever. So yeah, so you get that there's a sort of creativity within that when you're doing covers, of, you know, figuring out how to make the song work for me, right? Because I'm the one that's performing it. I need to figure out how to make the song work for my loop pedal, and work for my particular style of singing and performing. And once I've figured that out with a cover, and I'm performing it and stuff, and it just feels great. Like I just love it so much, and I don't feel at all like I'm like a not a legitimate an illegitimate artist or anything like that. It's like no, because instead of focusing on my own lyrics and my own songwriting skills. I'm focusing on the performance. I'm focusing on the sound that I'm creating. I'm focusing on the getting the timing right, getting the solos right, singing in tune. I'm focusing on what I would say is more important. It is more important to get things like timing, tuning, all these things right. Strumming techniques, and when I do beatboxing, how to do beatboxing right, how to do the mixing on my amp, how to get the levels right, how to get the all these different controls, how to get all the settings right on my pedal, how to should I, and what if I'm doing a guitar solo, do I want to make it really fast and complicated, or do I just want to make it slow and melodic and sort of singing sort of solo? And in many ways I would say those things are often for a performance, they are often more important, and I think that is appreciated a lot more within the world of classical music, because they're not focusing on being writing their original material and stroking their ego about how creative they are. They're focusing on the performance, the technicality of playing the piano, of the technicality of getting and even within each performer you're going to get different nuances with how they approach each piece, and that's why they continue to record the same piece over and over again and perform the same piece over and over again, because each pianist will have their own individual interpretation of the piece. And so I've gone through a long journey of figuring these things out between covers and originals, and trying to navigate, because there's a lot of confusing messages depending on what genre you're looking at. But I'm sort of at a space now where I'm quite confidently say, no, what I do covers, and I'm happy and proud to say that that's what I do, and it's what I enjoy doing, and I've got no shame in it at all, because they're great songs that I try to do great songs that I work on, and it helps me to focus on, in many ways, what I think is more important, which is the performance, to make the connection to other people when you're performing, because that's what music is about. That's the main point of it, really. I could spend all my time doing all this original music and not enjoying it and not creating a connection to other people, and just sort of flogging a dead horse just to prove that I'm a legitimate artist. But maybe that isn't what it's about. Maybe that's not what it's about. But now I'm excited for my see where it goes. It's taken me, as you can probably hear, there's a lot of thought that's gone into this and a lot of history, but I'm at a good place with it now, and I'm looking forward to seeing where the future takes me as an artist and a musician, to see how I can improve my craft and improve upon what I do. And I'm always trying to find ways to do things better, because things can only get better, right? Anyway, it's been nice to have a little chat. If I can think of any other topics that I want to have a talk about, I'll come forward. I'll step up and we'll have a little discussion. Anyway, I need to clean my house now. Take it easy. Have a nice day. Oh, and in case you're wondering what the noise in the background is, that's my 4-year-old son playing keyboards. So we're a very musical family for sure.